Before we begin, take a deep breath. Inhale slowly and exhale gently. Because what you're about to hear may explain the pain you've been carrying for years. Have you ever wondered why life tests you harder than others? Why you feel things more deeply, walk alone more often, and face storms that never seem to end? It's not because you're cursed, it's because you're chosen. The universe does not train the ordinary the same way it prepares the destined. Your suffering has purpose, your pain has intelligence, and your silence has power. This message is for the man who's been broken but refuses to stay down, the chosen one in disguise. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Feel the stillness of this moment as it washes over you. Because what we are about to explore goes beyond motivation. It is about understanding the sacred design of your pain. Today, we begin with the first truth, the sacred weight of responsibility. When a man is chosen by life for a higher purpose, he is not given an easy road. He is given trials that ordinary men avoid, because his soul carries the strength to face what others cannot. The chosen man is not chosen because he is special. He is chosen because he is willing. Because he has the courage to endure when others run. He has the faith to continue when there are no guarantees. And he has the humility to learn even when life brings him to his knees. The suffering of the chosen man is not a curse, it is an initiation. Each hardship is a silent teacher, shaping his character, forging his discipline, and awakening his awareness. When a man is chosen, he is stripped of illusions. He begins to see how fragile comfort truly is, and how easily people surrender their integrity for acceptance. The chosen man cannot live this way. His soul does not allow it. He feels a constant pull, a voice within that whispers, "You are meant for more." But that voice also demands sacrifice. It calls him to detach from what is easy, to reject mediocrity, and to walk a path that few understand. And this is why he suffers. He suffers not because he is weak, but because he resists the world's numbness. He cannot close his eyes to truth once he has seen it. He cannot go back to small living once he has tasted the vastness of his potential. He carries a fire that refuses to die, even in the colder seasons of his life. That fire burns through his illusions, his comfort, and his false identity until all that remains is the essence of who he truly is. Many men run from this fire. They chase comfort, pleasure, and distraction, because it is easier to escape pain than to face it. But the chosen man cannot run, because his suffering follows him. It is his teacher. It shows up in failures, in rejections, in loneliness, in loss. Because each of these moments is a mirror, reflecting where he still clings to ego, where he still fears letting go, and where he still doubts his own power. The chosen man learns through breaking. Every heartbreak teaches him empathy. Every defeat teaches him patience. Every disappointment teaches him surrender. He begins to realize that pain is not there to destroy him, but to awaken him, because only through suffering does a man meet his true strength. When everything is taken from him, he learns what can never be taken. When he stands alone, he discovers the company of his spirit. And when the world turns silent, he begins to hear the voice of his destiny clearly. That is the sacred weight of being chosen, to suffer not aimlessly but meaningfully, to endure not for applause but for awakening, because every scar becomes a symbol of evolution, every wound a doorway to wisdom, and every fall a step closer to becoming who he was always meant to be. The isolation of awakening. When a man is truly chosen, he will walk a path that few understand. The moment he decides to rise above mediocrity, to live by truth instead of comfort, he begins to feel the distance between himself and the world grow wider. It is not that people suddenly turn against him. Rather, he begins to see how different their priorities are, how easily they give themselves to distraction, how afraid they are of silence. The chosen man cannot blend in anymore. His spirit starts to vibrate at a higher frequency, and that energy exposes what is false around him. People sense it even without words. They feel unsettled by his presence, because he no longer plays the same games. He does not gossip, he does not chase validation, he does not bend his truth for acceptance. And that quiet strength triggers the ego in others. So slowly they distance themselves. They call him distant, cold, or difficult to understand. But in truth, he is simply becoming conscious. The loneliness that follows is not a punishment, it is purification. The chosen man must be separated from the noise before he can hear the voice of his own soul. Because as long as he remains surrounded by chaos, he will confuse his purpose with the opinions of others. He will chase the world's definition of success instead of discovering what success truly means for him. This isolation becomes his training ground. Here, he learns to be at peace with his own company. He learns to enjoy silence. He begins to face the parts of himself he once ran from, the fears, the doubts, the regrets. And slowly he starts to realize that solitude is not emptiness, it is clarity. It is in solitude that he rediscovers his direction. In the quiet hours of the night, when no one is watching, he begins to rebuild himself piece by piece. He learns that his strength is not dependent on support from others, but on his alignment with truth. He learns that true power comes from stillness, not from noise. And he learns that being alone is not a sign of weakness, but of readiness. Readiness to lead, readiness to serve, readiness to walk his path without needing applause. Many will not understand this journey. They will tell him to be more social, more flexible, more normal. But the chosen man cannot return to smallness once his consciousness has expanded. He cannot pretend to be asleep once he has awakened. He will find that those who once surrounded him with noise begin to fade away, and in their place life sends new people, those who understand silence, depth, and purpose. The chosen man does not lose people, he outgrows energies that no longer match his vibration. Isolation teaches him discernment. It teaches him how to listen without reacting, how to observe without judgment, and how to act from wisdom instead of impulse. It teaches him that not every connection is meant to stay. Not every relationship is meant to follow him into his next chapter. And once he accepts this truth, his loneliness transforms into peace. He realizes that solitude is not the absence of love, it is the presence of self. That is when the chosen man becomes truly powerful, because a man who is comfortable alone cannot be controlled, manipulated, or broken by the world anymore. The breaking of illusions. The chosen man suffers not only because of what happens around him, but because of what happens within him. His awakening is not a sudden event. It is a gradual destruction of everything false he once believed to be true. He begins to see through the illusions of success, of validation, of control. He realizes that much of what the world calls achievement is just distraction dressed as purpose. He begins to question everything, his relationships, his ambitions, even his own identity. And this questioning can be painful because the chosen man is forced to confront how much of his life was built on fear rather than truth. When this awakening begins, he feels lost because everything that once gave him comfort starts to crumble. The friends he once relied on grow distant. The dreams he once chased no longer excite him. The routines that once gave him stability now feel empty. It is as if the universe is tearing down the walls of his old life brick by brick, and it is. The chosen man must lose his illusions before he can gain wisdom. Life strips away everything that is not real because truth cannot coexist with pretension. That process is not gentle. It hurts deeply because it feels like death. But what dies is not the man. It is his ego. It is the false version of himself that was built from society's expectations, from fear of rejection, from the need to prove his worth. And as this false identity dissolves, the chosen man enters a dark night of the soul. He feels abandoned by life, betrayed by his purpose, and confused by his own emotions. He asks, "Why me? Why does it hurt so much to do what is right?" But this question is part of the purification. Because when everything external collapses, he finally turns inward. He begins to realize that the suffering he feels is not a punishment, it is the birth of his true self. The fire that burns his illusions is the same fire that forges his soul stronger and purer. He starts to see the truth behind his pain, that the world had to fall apart so he could stop looking for validation outside and begin trusting his own inner compass. The chosen man learns that pain has intelligence, that it never comes without reason. Each heartbreak teaches him compassion. Each betrayal teaches him discernment. Each failure teaches him humility. He begins to understand that every time life closes one door, it is protecting him from walking the wrong path. And when he looks back, he realizes that what once felt like destruction was actually redirection. Life wasn't breaking him, was building him into the man he was meant to be. The chosen man learns to stop fighting the process. He stops asking, why is this happening to me? And begins to ask, what is this teaching me? And with that shift, every moment of pain becomes sacred. He learns to embrace the fire instead of fleeing from it, because he now knows that the fire does not destroy the chosen. It reveals them. It burns away everything false until all that remains is truth, discipline, and faith. And that is how a man becomes unstoppable, by surrendering to the very pain that once made him question everything. When the chosen man finally accepts his suffering, he begins to see that his pain was never random. It was sacred guidance. Every wound, loss, and disappointment was shaping him for a greater purpose. The chosen man's life is not meant to be comfortable. It is meant to be meaningful. And meaning is born through endurance, through facing what others avoid. When the chosen man reaches this stage, he stops fighting his path. He begins to understand that his battles are not punishments. They are invitations to rise higher. Each difficulty becomes a form of training, each obstacle a teacher. He learns to see adversity as the sharpening of his spirit, because a dull sword cannot serve in a great battle. The chosen man realizes that to be chosen means to carry light into places where darkness still reigns. And to carry that light, he must first know the weight of darkness himself. He must know pain intimately, so that he can one day guide others out of it. That is why the chosen suffer deeply, because they are being prepared to heal deeply. His suffering becomes his wisdom, his scars become his guidance, and his silence becomes his strength. The chosen man no longer seeks pity, he seeks purpose. He stops asking for the storm to end, and instead learns how to walk through it with calm. He becomes grounded like a mountain, unmoved by external noise, because his strength no longer depends on what happens outside of him. It comes from within. He learns to forgive those who misunderstood him, because he now sees that they were necessary parts of his evolution. The betrayal taught him loyalty. The rejection taught him self-worth. The loss taught him appreciation. Every wound became a lesson in disguise. And once he learns to see his suffering through the lens of purpose, he becomes free. Free from resentment, from self-doubt, from fear. He no longer curses the path that broke him, because he now understands that it broke him open to wisdom, to compassion, to depth. The chosen man walks differently now. He no longer moves to impress, he moves to express. He no longer seeks validation, he embodies truth. He no longer chases acceptance, he radiates confidence. Because once a man realizes that everything he lost was never meant to stay, he stops clinging and starts trusting. He walks with faith, not blind faith, but earned faith. Faith forged in the fires of pain and uncertainty. He knows now that suffering was never the enemy, it was the sculptor shaping his soul. And when others look at him, they may see calmness and control. But beneath that stillness lies a man who has fought countless invisible battles. A man who has broken 1,000 times and still chose to rise. A man who understands that true strength is not the absence of pain, but the mastery of it. The chosen man eventually learns to thank life for every hardship, because without them he would still be asleep, still chasing illusions, still living small. Now he walks as a living example of resilience, discipline, and grace. His suffering became his awakening. His loneliness became his clarity, his wounds became his wisdom, and through him, others find the courage to rise too. That is why the chosen man always suffers, because he was born not just to survive the storm, but to become the light that guides others through it.